Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We got something important to talk about today. I'll just get right to the point. We're losing ROM hacks and fan translations. And that's because all the work that these guys do is being stolen and then sold. They're being placed on reproduction carts and then sold on sites like eBay and Etsy. Etsy seems to be the big one that's really profiting off of all these guys' hard work. Here's just a few games brought to us by these translators that we wouldn't have been able to play otherwise. Let me start from the beginning and explain how I got involved in all this. I've been following a fan translation of Dragon Warrior Monsters 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 1 that never came out over here. And this has been in production for a very long time. It feels like over 10 years. Since it was taking so long, I reached out to a couple people involved in the project, and I was told that it's still kind of being worked on, but it's just coming out very slowly due to some issues with the programming, things like that. When I asked if anything could be done to kind of speed up the process, they said, well, you can try and find another PS1 ROM hacker, but chances are you won't be able to. So I went to romhacking.net and I looked at some projects that either had been worked on recently or just came out recently, and I was able to find one group. That was Star Trinket. So I reached out to Star Trinket and I was able to talk to Jason, one of the members. The conversation started out with Jason saying he can take a look at and speak to the members of the Dragon Warriors project, but then he also said that it probably wouldn't matter because translating may be going away. And that's when I found out about how all these guys' hard work is being taken and then sold for profit by people who had nothing to do with the projects. They're literally taking these translations, applying them to a ROM, and then flashing them to a cartridge and then selling it. Obviously, the people responsible for the translations did not give anybody permission to do this, because when they do these translations, they always kind of put a remark saying, you know, this isn't for profit, it's not for commercial use. And the sellers are ignoring them and doing it anyway. And there's not a lot that these guys can do except for report the stores to try and take their stuff down, but they just get ignored. Jason actually tried to reach out to Etsy and email them to try and let them know what was going on. And you see here that it took them a long time to respond to his emails, and eventually he said they stopped responding altogether, just ignoring him. So imagine if you wrote a song just for fun and you put it online, or you drew this painting, or you caught this picture and then you see that someone's selling it under their own name, or you see your picture featured in a magazine somewhere and you've been given no credit. As a matter of fact, the credit is gone to someone else, and now they're profiting off of your work. And since they have no way to really stop what's going on because they don't own the games that they're making these translations for, they're stuck doing all the work and someone else is making money off of it. And it's just wrong, plain and simple. Jason said it's gotten so bad that he can only think of maybe 4 people doing translations right now. They used to use these IRC chat rooms to kind of talk back and forth with the projects that they were doing, and those are all dead. Star Trinket started off with a small amount of people to begin with on doing their projects, and about half their people have quit because of this. From what I found out, there's 2 really bad sites or sellers that are really hitting everybody hard. And before I tell you guys who these people are, please do not message or email any of these people directly. They're going to consider it harassment, and then you're going to look like the bad guy. That kind of stuff does not work on these people. They think they're untouchable. They think that people are beneath them and that what you have to say doesn't matter. So there's no point in trying to message these people directly. Don't email them, don't message them, don't talk to them because they don't speak that language. Money is the only language they understand. This is one of the first sites that was told to me. This is Fishy Faced Games. $225 for some Final Fantasy Trinity thing. He's got Star Fox 2 here for sale for $80. And right here, the ROM hack for Zelda Outlands that you can get for free for $80. Y'all may remember a video that I made previously that was kind of similar to this when I talked about that Game Box Hero thing, and they were charging $150 for a Raspberry Pi 3 with a bunch of ROMs added. A lot of people responded saying, you know, they're just trying to make a living, leave them alone. I would pay that much if somebody did it for me. This is different because the authors and the writers of these ROM hacks and ROM translations are doing all the work and someone else is profiting off of it. One of the members from Star Trinket actually tried to reach out to the guy from this Fish Face Games site, and he basically just laughed in his face. Unfortunately, that member didn't speak English very well, so he wasn't able to make his point, but you can tell from this conversation that the Fish Face guy couldn't care less. Because again, he thinks that he is above everybody else and he can do what he wants. The amount of work that goes into these translations and the ROM hacks, it can take days or months or even years out of somebody's life working on a ROM hack or translation, and there's nothing they can do about it except get laughed at. And here's the second site that they mentioned, this Forgotten Video Games. This is one of their Etsy pages. They have another one here, MTL Video Games. This is the same person. This is Francis, apparently. He's got similar games on both pages, and you'll see here, this one stood out to me, Zelda 64 Dawn and Dusk. If you go to his other page, he's selling it for $75. And this is a brand new page that they just opened up this year. And this stood out to me because I haven't heard of that ROM hack. So when I did a search for it, I found the GitHub. And I was extremely surprised and taken aback when I found out that this ROM hack just released 12 days ago. So within 12 days at the latest, this guy stole Luigi Blood's ROM hack, flashed it to a cart, and is charging $55 to $75 for it. Those two are the main sellers that are causing people to stop doing translations and ROM hacks. That last guy actually goes as far as to say that he is a member of Star Trinket and that he has permission to create those games and sell them. He's saying that all those sales help support Star Trinket. Basically, this guy goes on romhacking.net and scoops up any new hacks and flashes them to a cartridge to sell them. Most recently, this guy actually has been posing as a ROM hacker and visiting these project sites, saying that he wants to help out and he tries to get an early build of the game to just flash on a cartridge and sell for himself. He even tries to sell translating tools that the author offers for free. So all I'm trying to do is get the word out there. What I would love for you guys to do, I know I'm small time, but if you can just share this information, share this video to anybody, other YouTubers, and you'll see this video is not monetized. I'm not running any ads on this video because I'm serious about this. This is a huge injustice to these people, and I have so much respect for what they do, the translators, all the work they put into their games. You may be asking, why can't you just report them? Well, Etsy does have a policy on IPs, or intellectual properties. It says right here, sellers are responsible for ensuring they have all necessary rights to their content and that they are not infringing or violating any third party's rights by posting it, which these guys don't. They're obviously using games owned by Nintendo, and they're even using the logos and artwork from Nintendo. The problem is you can't report them saying they're violating the IP policy because you and I don't own the IP, only Nintendo does. And I would love if somehow Nintendo got involved and they went and sued these guys. That's the only language they speak. They speak the language of money, so hit them in the wallet. Nintendo needs to sue these guys and take them down, because if they're willing to sue like ROM sites, not even charging for them, but providing ROM sites, these guys are profiting off their games. So like I said, there's a couple of things that I would love if people could do. One is to get the word out. Talk to as many people as you can. Share this video. Don't share the video, just share the information in the video for all I care. I know Pat the NES Punk sometimes has a segment on a show called Scumbag Seller of the Week. I'm going to try and contact them somehow and see if they can kind of get the word out as well. But in the meantime, to stop these guys from making money, what you can do is in Etsy, there's an option to report this shop. And when you click on it, it gives you a reason. There's a problem with my order. Here's the IP reason, which we can't use because we don't own the IPs. Or you can say they sell items that don't meet Etsy's policies. And you have a couple options here, not handmade, not vintage, things like that. And there's a link up here that says how they define handmade, vintage, and supplies. If you're claiming something is handmade, you agree that all handmade items are made or designed by you. If you work with a production partner, you must disclose that production partner in your relevant listings. You accurately describe every person involved in the making of an item in your shop in your About section. So it sounds like this guy is breaking the handmade policy. So what I'm going to do is check not handmade and then write a brief description at the bottom as to what they're doing, saying all images on their cartridges aren't owned by them, the games themselves aren't owned by them, they're owned by Nintendo. But if enough people report the store, they put a hold on it, and the longer they have a hold on it, they're not making money. I know this is one of those things where it's like a hydra. You take one down, another one pops up. That's where the word of mouth part comes in, if we can get enough heat on Etsy itself, because it seems like Etsy doesn't care either. There was someone who was discussing things with an Etsy employee, and basically they said Etsy makes too much money off of this to care that they're breaking their own policy. I'm sure Nintendo or SaGa would be very interested in knowing that there's a site that allows their IPs to be sold without any consequence. The other site, that Fish Face Games, you're probably not going to do anything because that's a privately owned site. Nintendo would have to go after the website itself. But for now, report both of these guys' stores. I'll have a link in the description for everything here. Spread the word. Let everybody know that we're losing translations. We're losing ROM hacks because they don't want to do them anymore. Simply because of this, because people are stealing their work. You know, tweet at Nintendo or Etsy or SaGa or any YouTubers that you know to let them know what's going on and to inform Nintendo or anybody else that can do something about this. Because again, I ask you, if it was you and you made something that you wanted to share with people out of the goodness of your heart, just because you wanted them to enjoy it, only to find out someone has took your work and are selfishly profiting off of it. I just ask you all to do what you can, and I hope that something can be done about this. This is a huge injustice to the hard-working translators and ROM hackers. I appreciate anybody who made it to the end of this video. I get a little long-winded with these things because I'm just so passionate about people doing the right thing. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.